Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you all to the Tuesday, November 26th meeting of the Douglas Board of Selectmen. If we could all stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stand for her.
Okay, just as a reminder, this meeting is being aired live on our YouTube channel and will be available for viewing for many, many years to come. And the reason why we might be going back and going down memory lane is we have a very exciting time in the town of Douglas. The Douglas girls varsity soccer team, who's here today, came home with a championship. And I see Mr. Falco, do you have the trophy?
I do indeed.
Would you and Ava like to come forward and share a little story? Why don't we all come forward or sneak? Yeah.
We'll all come forward.
Come on, we're going to put you on the spot. So what have you brought us?
We have brought home the state championship trophy.
How's that feel?
It feels really good.
It should.
Yeah. It's a dream come true.
I will say, I don't know
A lot of hard work.
how many athletes are around this table, but very few of us can call ourselves state champions, and I cannot, but you can. And really, heartfelt congratulations. I was at that game. You're down 2-1. At half, I said, we got to make an adjustment or something, and sure enough, an adjustment was made, and that midfield kind of solidified itself. Great defense, for sure, and timely goals. So,
Thank you.
super congratulations. I don't know what to do, to be honest. We've never won a state championship before. So, you go around the table if you have anything.
Yeah, I think you guys will always remember that moment. I mean, that day, it's a special day. You'll never forget it. And, it brings you guys closer as a group and a bond that you guys will cherish for your whole life.
Just a good sign of teamwork. That's what it comes down to.
How many are graduating?
3 of us.
3 of us, so you could have a very good team next year, too. Okay. Look forward to seeing you again, then.
Congratulations. No pressure. Very proud.
Thank you.
The level of competition in the Blackstone Valley in soccer is remarkable. I understand DVC took Divisions 3, 4, and 5,
Yep.
right? So we did our part, so
Yeah, we did.
congratulations. We have our certificates here, so what I might do, if that's all right, is just have you guys sit, and I'll call everyone up to grab one of these, and if we can, just do a quick picture at the end, and send you guys back to homework or whatever it is, whatever it is you do on 2 days after a state championship.
They don't get a free ride on the homework.
Yeah.
Well, we might, I don't know if we have authority to do that, but
We can try.
you can try.
You can set a policy.
Yeah. I'll entertain a motion if you want to give it.
So moved.
You have to answer to Mom and Dad and Mr. Vega, who might be back there. So really, on behalf of the entire town, which, by the way, came out in droves to support you guys, I was really, really happy to see the amount of people, and the fair amount of people colored themselves blue. We joked that maybe the day after Mrs. Sokol might have regretted that. Was she back to her normal complexion?
She was.
She was? All right, well, absent of that, congratulations, really.
Thank
It's been
you.
awesome. All right. Addison? Olivia? Sadie? Frankie? Congratulations. Madison. Allison. Emily. Mia. Jasmine. Nicole. Savannah. Ava. Julia. It feels like a lot, but I know you guys didn't have a huge roster. Megan. Ariana. Gianna. Stan. Mr. Vega. And Coach Brousseau. Yep. I don't know if this will work, but can we get a picture?
Yeah.
All right. Come on up.
How?
How about, you guys stay there, creep in, and we'll take it this way? Okay. Does that work?
Can you like file in? Yeah,
I'll get in the back. Back of the bus with me.
Are we holding these? Okay.
Should hold a soccer ball. Right.
I got like 3.
Wonderful. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it. Oh, it's good.
Oh, that's the same. Yeah, so now you guys have to sit and watch the town conduct its business and then do a,
It's a tax classification hearing. This is going to be awesome. You might not want to leave.
What do you finish about 11?
it may be a 2-page paper, but no, you absolved from homework. And could have asked. I know it might be on the radar for maybe 1 or 2 of them.
I tried, Chris. You had an audience.
I got nothing to follow there.
All right, moving on with our agenda. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to something that's currently not on the agenda? Seeing that there is none, we will move right into
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
a public hearing with a motion by Mike, seconded by Hal. Mr. Popka's here to talk classification of taxes for the 2025
You want to take a vote on that?
year. Let's vote on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. The floor is yours, Chris.
All right, most of you have seen this presentation in some form. Some may have been a few years, some first time seeing the presentation, but what I like to do is to the Board of Selectmen, to the taxpayers, kind of explain how the sausage is made. How do we come up with the values for town? How does that ultimately work into a tax rate?
And then we have the business of setting a residential tax factor, which is what this hearing is actually geared towards, so. Okay, it's a little slower up there. So every year, your assessor, me, is tasked with coming up with the full and fair cash value of all properties. Every 5 years is what's called a certification year. Some people, or a reval year is a common lexicon. A lot of people assume that we only change values on a certification year. That was true until about 20 years ago when they introduced interim year adjustments. So every year, we come to a full and fair cash value based on a sales analysis of all property in town. So I think if you look historically back at tax rates, you'll see pretty flat and then a jump every 3 years. That was when people were doing it, on the certification year. Computers have made it much more efficient. We can do it annually. The tax rate calculation, quite simply, when we say setting the tax rate, there are two components to it. There's the tax levy, which is how much the town is going to collect in real estate and personal property taxes. That's divided by the total value of all taxable property in town, multiply it by 1,000, and there's the tax rate. It's not any kind of magic voodoo. It's not something that the selectmen say, well, I want 15. Well, no, this selectman wants 14. It's math. It's what we do is the math. So, let me back up 1 second. I'm going to work on explaining first how we come up with the taxable value of property for me in my position. That's where most of my work is. So we'll work on the denominator of this equation first. What we take a look at is we do a sales analysis, and I'll walk you through the steps here. I just want to pull up a laser pointer here. So what we start with is the total number of single-family homes for Douglas. For any town in Massachusetts, you have to work with your largest class of properties. In Douglas, that's, as everyone knows, single-family homes. Single-family homes, we have to come up with a median ASR, or assessment to sales ratio, between 90 and 110% based on state law and guidelines. Realistically, the ASR is an assessment to sales ratio. Simply put, assessment as the numerator, sale price as the denominator. Anybody that does math knows that's percentage. So to be between 90 and 110%. Realistically, you're not going to go to over 100% because practically everyone's going to come in and say, I'm assessed over 100%, and they would be right. And that's a long line in my office, and I don't like that. So for a practical matter, you're aiming for 90 to 100%. You can see we're at 94% on our single-family homes, and there's a specific reason for that. If you look at the bottom of the slide, which is covered a little bit by the text over, are all the other classes of property in town, condominiums, two-family, three-family. Each one of those classes has to be within 5 points of our largest class, as well as between that 90 and 100%. So we take our largest class and we target the mid-90s, 94, 95, 96, 97. That gives us some flexibility on those other classes to be, a 92, we're still within 3, but below that 100. Another class, I think last year, like condos were at 99, and the town was at a 95. So we still kept them below that 100%, but still met the guidelines of within 5 points and within the statistical guidelines. So that's sort of where we come up with this 94. So now, working through this entire worksheet, we take a look at the total number of sales over $1,000 for a single-family home. Anything under $1,000 is considered an invalid sale, not a market sale. Of those, we take 108. We had 80 arm's length sales. Arm's length sales are willing buyer, willing seller without any undue motivation to buy or sell. Other things that could make it a non-arm's length sale is if you buy a house and put on an addition before we assess it, what we're assessing isn't what was represented at the sale. You know, you've improved the property or something like that. So we code out a number of sales. You can see here it was about 28 single-family homes. And in order for that to be statistically significant enough to have a valid sales analysis, you have to have 2% of your total sales. So in this case, we're at 2.83. Department of Revenue is happy, I'm happy. And so we get to use that without having to take some extra steps if should we fall below that. The only time that ever happened was after the 2008 crash, where the real estate market dried up and we had to use multiple years of sales and do some timeline. So you can see, as I spoke to before, the assessment to sales ratio at 94 for single-family homes. So we're right in the guidelines. So yes, people can say, well, you're at 95%, but the law really does say full and fair cash value, but in order for it to statistically work, you know, that's where you target. COD, that's a statistical term, coefficient of dispersion. If anybody knows anything about median, it's an equal number of houses worth more, equal number of houses worth less. The COD measures how far that spread is. So the closer to zero, the closer to that 94 ASR ratio the rest of the properties are. That has to be below 15, so we're a little over half that amount. That's actually a very good number. So again, I touched on the other numbers. For the other classes below, condos, two-family, all, you know, 92, 96, 95, 94. The 105s, 111s, three families and apartments at zero. That's only because there were no sales in the past 2 years of that type of property in order to do any kind of analysis, so they just sort of flow with the models from the rest of the classes. We take all the work in those models, and as we adjust based on the sales of properties to make the assessments match statistics, you know, we might raise ranches a little, lower colonials, you know, whatever we do to the models, we take those changes and we apply it to all the rest of the property in town. That results in what the state refers to as the LA4. This is the total value of all property in town, including down the bottom here, we have exempt parcels. So we are required to value the churches, the cemeteries, the municipal buildings, fire stations, everything like that. One thing I wanted to highlight on here is our industrials. This is a result of Mr. Monaric's tenacity and a lot of hard work from people in here. That's the new very large garage that was built. That whole thing with the land we took the growth on last year came out to be 155 million. I want to say last year our industrial taxable value was 50,235,000. So we increased it by 142 million, and that's primarily that building. So that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen often. So that is the total value of down here, total taxable value of all property in town, $1.835 billion. Last year we were around 1.6. I want to say I didn't write it down in my notes, but we did go up. A chunk of it was that building. Overall values went up. Moving to here, average home value went up 5.1%. Median went up 4.8. I like those two numbers to be close together. It shows that they're not doing any kind of progressive or regressive valuation, you know, overvaluing homes on the low end, undervaluing homes on the high end, or vice versa. It just, it's good to look at it both ways to make sure they're close. If there was a big variance, you'd want to look into that. Historically, here's the change in values over the years. Starting in 2002, because that's as far back as I can find numbers. As you can see, 2008 before the crash. Right here's 2020, 2019. That's when we finally came back to, you know, where we were before 2008 real estate bubble burst. And as you can see, it's been a very aggressive growth in the value of the taxable value of property. I think we've all seen it in sales of properties. You look at a house selling, you go, my God, I can't believe that sold for that. And then it sells again, you say, geez, I can't believe it sold for that again. It just- The market is doing its thing, so. Circling back to our tax calculation, you can see now we've just simply filled in that 1.835 billion into our denominator, and now we'll move on to the revenue side, or the numerator. This is a far more simple. This slide here is what I call Prop 2.5 101. This is the nuts and bolts of how Prop 2.5 works. We take our FY24 levy limit of $19,541,883. Prop 2.5 says we get to take 2.5% of that and increase. That's $488,547. We get to add to that our new growth, so that, again, 2.2 million from the warehouse as well as other construction in town. The warehouse wasn't all of that. So total of $22,245,000. We get to add to that the amount we need to service debt that's been previously approved. Just want to make a note, this does not include the newest BVT roof project, because that project hasn't happened, they haven't borrowed the money. So this is just previous borrowings that the town has authorized at town meeting and election. So that's the amount of money to service that. Maximum allowable levy, another way to say that is it's the maximum amount of money we can collect by law. We can't go over that amount for any reason aside from a debt exclusion or override, but we've already passed that point. We're looking at excess levy capacity of $15,842. That's simply a $1.8 billion assessment. 1 penny on the tax rate is $18,000. So if we added 1 penny to the tax rate, we would go over the maximum allowable levy, would be in violation of the law. So the mathematical amount we can collect in taxes is $24,168,752. Kids would have loved this. So,
They might be home watching it right now. They did leave quickly.
yeah. So we just plugged that 24 million into the numerator, and then the math comes out 1317 is what we anticipate the tax rate to be. All things staying the same the way they are in Gateway now. If anybody remembers, last year's tax rate was 1352, so it's going down by 35 cents per thousand. We saw this graph before. I've just simply added in the tax rate as a separate axis. Values go up, tax rate goes down. All the assessors say it. I actually put it in a graph form. People can actually see it. Exceptions being, here's 2019 with an override. That's when you kill your assessors and you have the values go up and the tax rate goes up, because it's a double whammy on the taxpayers. But that's the only time you'll see that, is if there's some kind of exclusion or override, is when you see values and tax rate both increase. So again, here after the override, values have been skyrocketing, and you can see the tax rate going down accordingly. So
What year would we pass the override?
19.
19.
So
So, yeah, that was,
yeah, so you can see it. This dip here is 18. So right here, so you can see the values went up slightly, but the tax rate went up,
yeah.
Visually a jump. And that would have been the override. Circling back to this slide, we're taking a look at the increase in values, average and median, and then filtering that down to what the bill's going to look like for those properties. And this is what you'd expect with Prop 2.5. The bill's going to go up 2 to 3%. In this case, average 2.4, median 2.1. It's never, or rarely exactly 2.5, because the market doesn't sell, Capes and Colonials don't sell exactly the same each year, is it? So the mix changes a little bit. What I always tell taxpayers is, for every $1,000 of your tax bill, expect a $20 to $30 increase. So if you have a $5,000 tax bill, you should expect $100 to $150 increase in your tax bill. If it's more than that, give me a call. We can either explain it or we'll take a look and if something wrong, it's wrong, we fix it. But that's usually what I tell taxpayers. $20 to $30 per $1,000 on your tax bill, you should expect every year to increase. I'm going to bounce back and forth in these two slides because this is a pretty significant picture. This is last year's value distribution. We were at 92.3% residential, 7.7% commercial. And here we are this year. So we nearly doubled our commercial, industrial, and personal property. That doesn't happen. That's a big bonus for Douglas. It's a huge help. We take a look back at our industrial, 3.4% to 10.7%. It more than tripled our industrial tax base. So that's big, and the more that section of pie grows of commercial, industrial, and personal property, the more the tax burden is eased on residential and is absorbed by those commercial folks. So now that's how we come to the tax rate. I've kind of broken down where things are at. This is what we're actually here for, is a classification hearing. So once we've classified and valued the properties and had them certified, basically all the work in the previous slides, we're here for public hearing to decide on a SIP factor or a residential tax factor, whichever way you'd like to say it. This is, I'm just citing the law. This is why you get to do it. I like to make clear to, through the selectmen to the taxpayers, that shifting the tax rate does not change how much the town collects in taxes, it just changes the allocation. So it takes that pie and shifts it around. So you can shift some of the burden from the residential taxpayers to the commercial. It does not lower the amount of money the town collects in taxes. And I'm here to present the different options or what the impact is of a single rate tax. What are the classes of property? This is pretty straightforward, but I'd like to put it on the screen. Residential, that's the easiest one. People get that. Residential does include rental apartments, things like that, condos. Commercial, stores, gas stations. Industrial, I should get a picture. I don't have a big enough camera for the new biggest industrial property in town, but that's our industrial property. And the one, I guess most people would overlook, it's personal property. So that's the machines and equipment that the businesses use to operate. And we'll stop there. That's very, very convoluted in execution, but that's generally what it is. This is just a slide showing the mix of residential and commercial. Now, because we've been so heavily residential forever, I'm only showing the top 25% of 100% scale. So if you think of it, if it's a 100-story building, we're only looking at the very top. You can see here a low of around 5%, historically a high 6.5%, 7%. Last year we were 7.7, so that's, and here we, again, like I said, nearly doubled that percentage. So good news, it helps. One of the types of things for consideration when we're talking about a SIP shift, what's the percentage of large businesses versus small businesses? It's when you do a shift like this, it's not just going to hit the big guy. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to take it to the man. You also hit every pizza place, so you want to make sure that it's, you're not just, you can't just go after the big guy. You got to go after all commercial, industrial. Leading to the second point, small businesses, industrial, who may or may not be your big employers. This is the one I think is probably the most important for Douglas is granting a small relief to residential taxpayers, it doesn't become an outsized burden on your commercial taxpayers. And I'll highlight this on a slide in the future a little bit, but that's I think when we're 85-15, especially when we're 95-5, it was you take $2 or $3 off of a residential bill and you add 60 to a commercial. It was you really weren't helping anybody. You'd be hurting a commercial. And then will that shift negatively impact the desirability of people to move into Douglas? We've obviously been desirable for a reason. You would need to weigh, would a SIP shift change that? And then what services do the commercial industrial properties use? I think the biggest one is always students in school. If you put $1 million property in town that's commercial, that isn't putting students in, or a $10 million, I don't even want to try to math out the $150 million right off the top of my head, but a $10 million property is 20 houses, average houses in town. So that's, you figure 20 students probably in the schools, versus, fire calls and things like that. So, it is a factor to consider. So what are the options? This, and again, that text is blocking it for our folks at home. But for every 11-cent reduction in the residential rate is a 77-cent increase in the commercial rate. So it's 7-to-1 ratio. The good news is last year was 11-to-1. So we're moving in the right direction. The bad news is it's still 7-to-1. Basically, every penny you take off of the residential tax rate, you're going to add 7 cents to the commercial rate. This slide worked better before we had a $155 million behemoth in the industrial. So if you look mainly at the residential and commercial, 1% shift, so shifting about $240,000 from residential to commercial of the entire $24 million we're going to collect, would save the average taxpayer residential taxpayer $9.42. And for similarly valued commercial, they're going to go up $65. So that's that 7-to-1, ratio. So that's just to put it in dollars and cents, so instead of the abstract 1% shift. And industrial, I got to find a better way to show that now with, like I said.
Yeah, that kind of gets skewed a little.
A little bit, yeah. I think this is the best representation of that is this graph, where you can see the blue line is simply the SIP factor of 1. The green line over shows you relief to residential, and the red line is a corresponding increase in the commercial. So I think the closer you can get those three lines together, the more appetizing a SIP shift becomes, or at least the less disruptive it becomes to your tax base as far as disproportionate shifting of dollars. Other recap figures that I'm supposed to by law let you know, I talked about them earlier, but we'll just put them on one slide. Excess levy capacity, again, the difference between what we can legally collect in taxes and mathematically collect in taxes. And then our new growth, $2.214829 million. My recommendation, as in the past, is adopting a single tax factor, residential tax factor of 1, and estimating a tax rate of 1317. From there, any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions for Chris?
Yep, just through the chair. How many communities have a residential and a commercial industrial tax rate?
Off the top of my head.
Surrounding, in the southern Worcester area?
I know Most around here are flat. Worcester has a split rate,
Yeah.
I believe. At one point, they were trying to work their way back, but it's very painful
Yeah.
to work back from a split rate to a residential because, especially if you're, call it a residentially leveraged community, you start shifting it back and you're dumping that burden onto the residents. I know Webster, I believe, went through an effort to go, they made their way back to a flat rate.
Yeah.
They had been split, but off the top of my head, beyond that, I don't.
No,
I'll add that for future
it's
slide
just-
presentations.
yeah.
It is something good to know.
It's just good to know, what the surrounding communities are doing, if they're, what they experience and stuff like that. So I just thought that was good. You highlighted commercial. Is commercial, and you've got land, and is commercial including the buildings that are sitting on commercial land as well as commercial land that hasn't been developed?
Commercial, industrial, both include vacant land.
The problem, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we classify residential, commercial, and industrial land separately.
okay. That was just one of the questions I had.
So Chris, with your recommendation, as a factor of 1, 13, 17 is across the board.
Yes.
Right, everybody's, okay.
Yes.
We've traditionally favored the unified rate to encourage economic development, and it's finally borne fruit. I think we should continue with it for now. Maybe we'll get so full with the commercial property, we'll want to hit them up a little bit more, but for now, I think we should keep the steady as she goes.
I agree with Hal. I think where we are as far as the economic development direction that we're going in, it would be advantageous to stay with a single rate. I think it would be more of a deterrent to start splitting it up at this point, because it puts too much of a burden, because there's not enough offset between the residential and the industrial commercial.
Thank you, Chris. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Made by Mike, seconded by Hal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Now we're at a point where we might want to set the rate.
I'm sorry, you'd accept a
Yeah.
residential factor of 1.
Thank you. Yes. So I will entertain a motion to accept or adopt a residential tax factor of 1, creating a single tax rate for fiscal year 2024, and we estimate that to be $13.17 per thousand.
So moved.
Second.
Made.
2025 though, right?
Fiscal 25.
2025.
I know it says 2024 in there, but
Oh, my bad. I didn't update my slide correctly.
That is, the only one who noticed that was cheating.
So moved as amended.
Second.
We had a motion amended and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Just one question.
Unanimous?
Does Gene use the red pen on Chris now?
well, I wish I had read it first. I would have.
Chris, don't let that disrupt you.
Yeah.
That's a flawless presentation.
Yeah.
I just didn't want the motion incorrect. I wasn't going to correct the presentation.
Good work.
Thank you.
Noted and
you.
important.
Thanks, Chris.
So,
Yeah.
thank you, Chris.
Good detail.
Chris?
So that item 5 is done. Now we can look at annual license renewals with possible votes. There's a few of them. I'll have you go through those as you need to. And
Thank you very much. Did a great job.
first one being the Family Convenience Center liquor license and a common vic license.
Yeah, there's 2 of them for that. Family convenience liquor. Did you just say that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Oh, I didn't know you had a cheat sheet.
Yeah, you don't have the cheat sheet?
I just didn't find it yet.
Yeah.
Here it is, I flipped it over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Help.
So,
You want to do them together or separately?
let's do them separately.
Yep.
I make a motion to approve the renewal of the liquor license for family convenience.
Second?
Made by Mike, seconded by Hal. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
You gotta do the,
Yep. Make a motion to approve the renewal of the common vic license for Family Convenience Center.
Made by Mike,
Second?
seconded by Hal. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. On to Gregory's. Same two licenses.
Make a motion to approve the liquor license for Gregory's, the renewal license.
I'll second that.
Made by Mike, seconded by Ross. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Make a motion to approve the renewal common vic license for Gregory's.
I'll second that.
Made by Mike, seconded by Ross. Further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
We have covered some license renewals, probably with more to come.
Yeah. Question about Xmart, there's a change of ownership, are they going to be coming in?
I think it's not X anymore, I think it's Z.
Z-Mart.
Zmart?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I saw correspondence this afternoon from Lisa to the new owners and old owners. Because of the expiration date being set where it was, it is the prior owner's responsibility to renew the license and to set up that transfer as part of their transaction. So this may take some doing, but they've got to hurry up and get it done. We have quite a few that are still outstanding. There are missing documents. These four were the one that were ready for you tonight, but
Some other ones? yeah.
quite a long haul to go here in very little time.
We have 3 meetings left at the end of the year?
2.
2?
Yeah, two.
All right, get those in.
Yep.
We good with 6? Matt, we want to talk weights and measures.
This should be quick. The Commonwealth assigns individuals to execute the weights and measures responsibilities for all the devices around the town of Douglas that need to be calibrated or tested from time to time. Taxpayers will see little seals on a gas pump. There are other places where the service is rendered. So I didn't really feel comfortable executing a contract with the Commonwealth without the Select Board's authorization. It is a relationship between the municipality and the state, not a pure procurement, as it were. It's more of a commitment. I do have to point out the irony is not the right word. The unfortunate circumstance that we'll sit through class to become certified procurement officials in Massachusetts, and the instructor is very good at wagging her finger. She'll wag her finger and say, you cannot enter into any perpetual contracts that automatically renew. And then if you go, the state contract for weights and measures says that the contract automatically renews forever without notice of any intention by either party to exit the agreement. So there you have it. Do as I say, don't do as I do. But having said that, this is the only way to get this service at a reasonably affordable level. So let's
And we charge
sign
the
it.
people being benefited from this, getting the stickers that passed on the cost?
You don't want to tax businesses, do you, Hal?
No.
Well, okay.
Well, okay.
Well, this is more of a populace protection.
It is.
Yeah.
It's that you're fairly getting what you say, what you want to buy.
More of a question than anything, Matt. Does this cover electric chargers for vehicles?
Yes, good.
Or is that a different way of?
I don't know the answer to that question. You would think it would be in their jurisdiction
Yeah.
because it's a meter,
Yeah.
but I don't know where the weights and measures quality control step is done with meters like that.
Okay.
Ready?
Any other discussions, questions? No, I think we're good.
Make a motion to authorize the town administrator to execute a contract for weight and measure services.
Made by Mike, seconded by Les. Further discussion, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, on to item 8, moving along here pretty good. We're talking ARPA. I know we're not voting on anything tonight, but maybe queuing things up for the next one.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be a tough grab.
I don't think she leaves the home without it.
What's that?
Nothing. I was just,
Oh,
One more. You got that?
Thank you. All right, ARPA, money that we never seem to quite get enough of.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Keeps on giving.
What are we looking to do here? Do we
This
adjust
is
some
really
things?
just a report at this time. As you stated, there are no votes to be taken this evening. I would like to, at your next meeting though, because we're getting close to that December 31st, and the money has to be obligated by that time, I'm looking at the small amounts for the telephone and the professional services, the opera consultant. We will use him again. We currently use CLA as the company that helps us with that, but I'd be recommending that we pay that out of an appropriation, and I just want to obligate this fund, and we can't come up with an exact amount for that gentleman. So those two, and then I think the other decision would have to be for the designer services for public buildings. But I think everything else is, Matt, you agree that that's the only other flexible one?
We're talking 140?
The 136.
Yeah, and then the 3?
Oh, I'm sorry, in total, yeah, the 6974 and a 315580, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what is committed under the design services, though.
So we're talking about this tonight because we want to give everyone an update on where we stand. So they're just going to go in order as they're on the screen here. The phone project, not the screen, the page, the phone project is pretty much closed out. There is an eventuality where we might need some of these resources for personnel to do some installation work that needs to be done. But if it closed out, it wouldn't be the end of the world as far as I'm concerned. The fire department HVAC project, which is on here, I think there's a remaining balance of $303,900. So we're going to start advertising this next week because the bid package is done, the drawings are done, and the Central Register already has the advertisement but won't publish it until next week. So we're set up for the newspaper, the Central Register, and Combis for December 4th. We will advertise for 2 weeks before sub-bids, and it'll be 3 weeks for the general contractor total. So they're nested within each other, it's not additive.
yeah.
It's 3 weeks total.
Because,
We will be opening bids on the 24th of December. That is correct, that is Christmas Eve, with the idea to obligate a contract before the end of the year. Now, for this kind of work, it's unlikely that we will get really extraordinary outliers that we would have to do a whole lot of background research on. Because there's an awful lot of supplies that are going to be bought at market prices. There is an add alternate on the bid package, and that would be to extend out the sprinkler system in the building from its current stub inside the building to the areas that are already existing, without actually turning the system on. So that's where we stand with that one. Then we have the designer services for a public building. we are working on getting a list of deliverables from Weston and Sampson that they feel that we're going to square up what we need to go to town meeting to discuss a highway bond project without overcommitting too deep into the design process and wasting money if town meeting isn't supported. So really, the idea here is to get to as close to 30% design as we can, which is basically concepts plus some details. So the elevations should be right, the exterior dimensions of the building should be right. There should be some general work done around the layout of the floor plan inside the building. It may not be hard and fast, but it should be pretty much close to done. And the programming of the major spaces inside the building should all be done. That really is sufficient to have a conversation at town meeting about whether or not to go out to bond for the project. And it is certainly sufficient to get a cost price estimate. So that's what we're aiming to do with Weston and Sampson. That work will include a survey, a professional survey of the lots and location of potential building footprints within the bounds of the various wetland setbacks and other considerations. Gene already spoke to the ARPA consultant. School security cameras, this is the ARPA portion of this project that was approved by town meeting. It is the sum of money required to do, to fund the remainder of the project. So we have a change order related to the cabling in high school, and we're getting the same pricing that was issued when the bid was returned in May of 2024. They held the pricing through December for us, so we will now pick up the middle school and the primary school. All 4 school buildings will be complete. So that money was obligated already in a contract that was sent out today and acknowledged by the vendor. So we'll get the hard copies returned, executed, probably before the holiday, if not, then right away Monday or Tuesday. So that leaves us with the Depot Street project, where ARPA is not the full funding source. There's a more significant project here than this really small font, 1.26 million here. There's going to be retained earnings and other sources of funding that are going to go into completing that project. So if there's a destination for closeout projects, I would favor the water project more than anything else, because no matter where you score it in that contract, whether it's contingency or it will all get absorbed and will be committed in the contract.
How much more do you anticipate this being?
More.
How much, so we earmarked the 1.2.
What a town meeting vote, it was.
Well, any additional funds you put towards that, you'll have less of a pressure on either retained earnings, borrowing, or free cash, depending on where the project comes in.
Right, okay.
So this would be used first.
I think the construction portion was 2.6.
I don't have that with me, but the culvert was 300, the sidewalks were 350 estimates. That's what we use for funding. I want to say it was 860 borrowing? 960, thank you. 400, over 400 for retained earnings, it was 460-something thousand. I don't have the town meeting with me.
Yeah.
So we're talking about just moving a couple $1,000 over there. This conversation plays into other items on your agenda, including setting your December meeting dates. Probably, I know neither Gene or I like to push things to the last minute, but in this case, the better part of wisdom might be to have a meeting late in December and do a final cleanup with votes after all the contracts have been bid and we have precise numbers on what everything's going to cost us. Then we can do a cleanup and call it a night for ARPA.
Plus we got the licensing that's going to have to.
The licensing's going to be back before you anyway. So that's why I put the scheduling on here, because we can get to that later, but are there any questions about the ARPA projects?
Now, a lot of moving parts. I remember when we first considered this deadline of the December 31, 2024 would have been ingrained in my head, but this guy over here, so that's our mark, but we're on track to hit it,
Yeah.
right? So,
So, late in December, the last Tuesday is the 31st, you wanted to do something prior to that, correct? Like around the 26th or something?
I think the 26th
That's a
is what I
Thursday.
suggested.
Is a Thursday. Yep.
Could have a lot of wives upset with the 31st.
Yeah, so the 26th might be a good bet, right?
So
That it gives Gene and Matt a couple days to work with, yeah.
not that it should matter that much, but I'm planning on leaving town the 27th and not returning until after the new year. That doesn't mean I can't
So is the
participate.
26th too late?
No, 26th would be perfect, I'll be here.
I'm fine.
I'm here, it's payroll day.
She's here and chipper because it's payroll.
Yeah, day after Christmas, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so then the other one, December 3rd, you want to move that out a week?
Yeah, I was hoping to push that to is there a Tuesday, the,
The 10th,
The 10th.
the 10th.
10th.
That way it would be 2 weeks in between meetings instead of having them real close.
yeah. It'll give us a chance to really push on the license
How you looking?
issues.
Those guys good?
will that work for you? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we are the 10th, the 17th, and the 20... Oh, that's it, just two? All right.
All right, so I'll make a motion to rearrange our December meetings to December 10th and December 26th
Move,
at 7 PM both days.
Made by Mike, seconded by Hal. Last minute objections. All those in favor, say yeah.
Well, sorry.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was just thinking, because Thursday, see, Tuesday's not a problem because it's a late night. Can we do that Thursday one and move that up? What's everybody's schedule look like? Instead of keeping everybody here until 7 o'clock at night on a Thursday?
Oh, I can avail
Thank you,
myself.
Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I just,
Yeah.
No, I appreciate
I
that.
just started thinking about the
Ed,
Thursday, I'm
yeah.
like,
It is a good suggestion.
6 PM?
I'll be free on that day.
I don't know.
I can make it anytime you
Yeah.
want.
Same here. I can-
My boss is difficult, but I can.
Are we talking the 10th or the 26th?
The 26th,
Yeah.
the 26th,
Boxing Day.
It's Boxing Day, Canada, right?
everybody available at 5? Tim?
I would be, yeah.
Tim, Hal, you good at 5?
Yeah.
Why don't we do 5 on the 26th?
Thank you.
All right, so the motion had been made by Mike. Was there a second to that?
I think I did.
Yeah. By Hal. Any further discussion, last minute regrets? All those in favor, say aye.
All right,
Aye. All right. Good.
and now I just got to remember.
Thank you.
Gene, thank you.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
To you as well.
Thanks, Gene.
Anybody on the 26th can bring extra food in that's left over from their Christmas dinners, cookies and pastries would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Coal. and
Bag of coal.
This-
You gonna give away all your gift?
Good if you eat whatever though.
Yeah, bring the Christmas cookies. Al wants cookies. All right, so we covered ARPA, we did the meeting schedule, we're up to minutes, which, did I not see any?
I didn't see any.
Yeah, I don't,
We'll have to skip those.
yeah, we'll skip those. And that moves us, Matt, to your report.
We're smoking, huh?
A lot of what you've gotten with the discussion about the various contracts that have been let out since town meeting. And we're just trying to draw all of that to a conclusion, so obviously we're hitting the deadline for ARPA. We have some challenges in place right now. We've got a couple of employees on leave in key positions in town hall, and we're all stepping up to cover for each other and do our best to maintain the same level of customer service that we always have. However, you got folks with a tremendous amount of experience working for the town that are absent, so they, the collective experience of people who are going to be out is definitely missed. So we will do our best to keep a smiley face on things. I really want to be public in my gratitude towards Jen Kuchar and some of the other staff people who are juggling things around to be able to step up and help us keep the workflow going through the town. At least one of these people is trying to work from home, and I certainly appreciate the effort being made there too. That's dedication. It was sanctioned by the person's physician. So we're not asking anybody to do anything on leave that they're not supposed to do. But there's a lot of loyalty there, and it's deeply appreciated. As far as overall town operations, we are spending a lot of time, and I mentioned this to the select board last time, and I'm going to reiterate that in setting your goals for municipal participation in the energy market or the support for different energy solutions for the community, there are any number of options that can be taken and pursued. And I, for one, don't want to lose sight of the fact that what we're trying to do is take advantage of market opportunities created by the environment that we're working in. So because Massachusetts allows municipalities to form municipal light and power companies, there's a whole statutory framework that's available here that's not available in many other states in the union. And a municipality can interject itself into any of the arbitrage opportunities that exist in the energy market, depending on what assets you're willing to build and fund and how you want to operate. And as we watch the calendar progress, we really do need to get on a specific path so that we have the support of the select board and hopefully the town in pursuing the options that are available to you. There's a tremendous amount of development in the country, and in Massachusetts in particular, around data centers, artificial intelligence, and other major facilities that are not warehouses. And they are specifically interesting because of two things. One is they have small, highly skilled workforces. So instead of several hundreds of people, you may only have a couple hundred. Instead of thousands of truck trips a day, you may only just have people coming to work and leaving. Now, it's probably 3 shifts. There's definitely security, but it's nothing like a last mile delivery warehouse. Just not even close, not in the same universe. So there's that quality of life issue for the community. And then there's the enormous revenue impact of the typical data center with not only the specialized building, but the personal property inside the building is often taxed by a municipality. So you very rapidly grow your commercial industrial tax base with minimal intrusion on the public. So it's almost like too good to be true, right? You have to pinch yourself and say there's got to be a catch. Of course there's a catch. There's a lot of complexity involved in citing these things. One of the critical variables is the availability of electricity. It can never go down. It has to be good, clean power, and it has to be affordable. So for a long time, the data center industry has been focused on Texas and other points south where the cost of these things is very low. But here in the Northeast, we have the skilled workforce that is needed to man these things to make them work. And we also it's just a matter of proximity, right? Being close to the markets that you serve. So we're getting to the point now where push is coming to shove, and different sites around Massachusetts have been identified by the industry as desirable. Our understanding from the Massachusetts Office of Business Development is that Douglas is one of those locations. This week, the governor of the Commonwealth, actually last week, signed the economic development bill into law. And almost the very next day, as Hal was quick to share this evening, a newspaper article, the town of Westfield, in the western part of the state, was quick to jump on a data center project. They have electric infrastructure already. If you're familiar with Westfield State, if you've ever walked the campus, you can see the smokestacks behind
That's a
college
municipal
buildings.
plant? They have-
That's a municipal
Yeah.
plant. And then they have another one that they're planning to build on the same general location because they have a gas line. And so they're going to add 400 megawatts to their local capacity. So that's how quickly things can move. Now, the town of Westfield's been doing this for a long time. They were ready. They have a lot of plans all set up. They've been thinking about this already 5-7 years. So they're in a different part of the life cycle than we are. We're at the beginning, they're sort of at the end, or really the middle. But like I say, before we charge any barricades, we want to know that you're behind
What's the
us.
demand side as to how many of these facilities are likely to be sited in Massachusetts?
That's kind of a, that's the $64 million question, right? How many of the major competitors are looking to build out their infrastructure? Do they play nice together? But I hear they don't. There are lots of security reasons why they don't co-locate in the same building. So if they are on the, you're likely to get one player that wants to be on one campus and not share any space with anybody else. There are some 7 or 8 players in the industry that have expressed an interest in Massachusetts. That's all I can tell you, 'cause that's all I know.
Right now, but we'll hopefully know a lot more as we continue to look at it.
But the companies we're talking about are not mom and pop hardware store. It's Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet, the major players in the tech industry.
To further the discussion on a municipal power department, who would we bring in, or who would we look to provide some guidance? 'Cause personally, like, the thought of, supplying a transformer that just blows my mind as to how we would do that. I don't even know how we handle the wastewater or the sewer. Who's a leader in this space that may alleviate some concerns that we may have?
So there are private firms that provide everything from consulting on plant construction to operations. There are a number of communities not that far away that we can draw upon their expertise and their experience. Both Holden and Paxton have a municipal light and power company, so they're not that far away. They're in Worcester County. The smartest people in the world are smart because they know what they don't know. And if we all know that we don't know how to run a power company, what you do is you sign a contract with the vendor to run the power plant, or run the power agency, whether there's a plant or not, whether it's just a substation, and to handle the construction and the bidding and the management of the asset for a fee. And you have to build your cost structure around that, and whether or not you're going to be able to recoup sufficient funds to support the project. Project finance, it's a little bit different because the useful life of the asset's 30 years, right? So your pro formas are going to figure in all kinds of things. Inflation and the cost of fuel, the increase in the cost of the final product, the demand for the product. So there's a lot of assumptions that get built into this, and they're built in by specialists that you hire to work with you on the project. I mean, I would love to do a project finance spreadsheet, but you'd never see me. I'd be in my office with little
Plenty
beakers
with
with
it.
bubbling liquids and steam coming out of my head.
Testing the capability.
I used to do it, but it's a long, long time ago.
The municipal light plant could be justified on its own even without the data center, too.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why,
Yeah.
what I said earlier is I don't want any one option to get us stuck in the mud just yet. For instance, I mean, let's say you simply wanted to store enough power to to supply the school buildings and other critical businesses in town with a backup source of supply without going to diesel generators. So you're going to take renewable energy and store it in a battery array and use the battery array when you need it. Or take advantage of arbitrage, right? Buy the solar power from the solar provider during the day when it's hot and sunny, and then when it gets cloudy and you're at peak demand in the late evening hours, and there's nothing being generated, sell the power back to the grid at a markup. That's what I mean, there's opportunities here for the community to use its statutory authority to be a player in a place where there's an opportunity to make some money for the town. So I hope that answers your question. A data center is sort of like way up here.
Yeah.
Right, that's the ultimate, the ultimate crown, but there's a whole bunch of other really beneficial things you can do before you get there. What I need is your guidance on where you want to go on the ladder, how many rungs are we going to step
Maybe you
up?
could present some options to us, or I think everybody's certainly interested in pursuing it at this stage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the town of Holden probably, they've been doing this for way long. And they're the closest one there. They're definitely involved to get some information on, see how pros and cons, what they've done, stuff like that.
Quite a few communities that
Yeah.
actually have it.
Yeah.
Wellesley, Concord, they both have them.
Yeah, just the one close.
Looking at the ones that are our size too, so Holden and Paxton are pretty good
Very good.
examples. Ashburnham is another. It's all the way in the north of Worcester County, but it's still a valid example. Is that it on there? I have other topics. So many people, and I would say the overwhelming majority of Douglas electric customers are purchasing their power through Good Energy, which is, the town of Douglas participates in a municipal aggregation program. It's the biggest in the Commonwealth, one of the biggest in the Northeast, that buys power at a discount so that you're not paying the national grid rate or whatever they're reselling. You're buying power through a contract that's signed by Good Energy, which represents a lot of municipalities. That contract is not scheduled to terminate until late next year, but our advisor on this, which is Good Energy, sees an opportunity in the spring to get really beneficial pricing. It's a combination of,
We did that last time around.
yeah, so we might jump
A year earlier.
6 or 7 months early on the contract to lock in better pricing. So we're definitely working on this. There is an announcement and consideration period by law of 30 days. So what I told the Good Energy guys was, let's look at the December 10th Select Board meeting as when we announce it, let the clock run through January before we finish that. And it's a public consideration period, it's really loose. People who are, we'll post it on the agenda. If nobody comes to speak to it, we'll just let it ride. Speaking of public hearings or public meetings, this will be announced shortly, but Resonate, our resident cannabis grower at 120 Gilboa Street, is looking for a renewal of its CCC licenses, actually, to manufacture and cultivate at their location at 120 Gilboa. In order to get the renewal, they have to announce a public meeting where people can come air any grievances they have. We'll announce that date when it becomes finalized, but
December 8th.
December 8th.
Yeah.
So that's before your next meeting, so we might as well announce it now. December 8th. I believe it's during the day or late afternoon, early evening, 5 to 8, 5 to 7.
And they host that, and
They host it, it's at their own expense, they have to announce it. They are sending a mailer out to all the abutters within X number of feet of their location.
will that be
Correction.
aired on
this will be-
cable?
Sorry. Correction, it'll be December 13th at 3
13th.
PM, from 3 to 5.
3 to
December
5.
13th, in the resource room.
So 12, 13, 3 to 5. I know they sent us the notice today.
Yeah.
All right.
With that, that's the conclusion of my report.
All right. So just in regards to the 10th, I know it's been circled on my calendar, your calendar, and yours calendar, Matt, probably the review process. You want to do that in the first meeting in December? Sure. Does that work? So if you could send to me or to the board the evaluation form, and I think how that works, if I recall, if the members would send that to me, I'll calculate and draw up a quick report and clear that off our desks well in advance of the holiday. No one really should be reviewed, up to the holiday. We'll make that as calm and factual as possible. Any other items not anticipated 48 hours in advance of tonight's meeting?
I got a note, Mr. Chair, regarding Whiten's Heights. When we spoke with them a few weeks back, we were going to follow up in December on their checklist, their punch list, not to add more to our December agendas, but just so it doesn't slip through the cracks if we get on an agenda, even if it's after the holidays, I guess.
Oh, that's good to follow.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, when I made that motion, one of the things that I was looking for was a damage waiver for the plowing in the wintertime, where it's not an accepted road at this point, and we don't know what the conditions of all the infrastructure and curbings and all that stuff, so we don't want to be burdened with
Just for
the bill come
notice.
springtime so we can get their acceptance.
And just for notice, I've been up there a few times making runs through, and they have been progressing on their checklist, so, but just to keep it in.
Keep it on the 4?
Yep.
All right. So we will add that. And any other items? Seeing as none, on this, a very special selectmen meeting in which we recognize the state champion girls soccer.
Awesome.
Ross, in honor of them, do you want to send us into executive session?
Sure, I will make a motion to enter executive session for A, potential litigation, MSHG, B, interest in real property on Rydell Road. And we will reconvene into open session with a one and only purpose, and that's to adjourn.
He's kind of like Nick, not a little bit. I'll second.
Yeah, no, that's,
I'll throw the slider once in a while.
Should spend some time at Tim's house.
It only,
I've seen a little bit.
it only, when you do it in Spanish, then you will have surpassed anyone at this table.
League for the Celtics up in Maine.
Yeah, he's right there. All right, the wonderful motion's been made by Ross and seconded by
Me.
Mike. Roll call vote.
Fitzpatrick, aye.
Bone and I.
Davis, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, nice job, ladies.